The House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. Sergeant at Arms. Delegate Sullivan, excuse us. Sergeant at Arms.
The House is now in session. All persons not entitled to privileges of the floor, please retire to the gallery.
The members will rise and be led in prayer by Rabbi David S. Widzer. Did I pronounce that right? Thank you. Senior Rabbi, Temple B'nai Shalom, Fairfax Station, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which will be led by the delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
My thanks to Delegate Tran for the kind invitation, and my appreciation to you all for being with us today. Eternal Spirit of the universe, we ask for your blessing upon the Commonwealth of Virginia, traversing the centuries from those native to this land through the years calm and tumultuous as part of the great experiment called America. May our Commonwealth always be a home to goodness, decency, and uprightness, and a beacon of the American ideal that each person is endowed by their Creator with dignity and worth. O Holy One of blessing, shine your countenance upon the people of this Commonwealth, that we might see in one another your reflection, that we might hear from one another words of comity and kindness, that we might feel from one another acceptance, friendship, and love. May we form communities of purpose, seeking to better ourselves and our world, striving for justice and righteousness, certain only that the task is never ending and the work ongoing. Eloheinu v'Elohei avarteinu v'imotenu, our God and God of those who came before us, grant upon this House of Delegates the wisdom to engage in the great issues of our day, the patience to understand perspectives not personally shared, and the desire to promote the welfare of all Virginians. May they govern with justice and goodness, and let us all say, Amen.
Amen. The members will answer the roll call by indicating their presence on the electronic voting board. The clerk will close the roll.
Mr. Speaker, a quorum is present.
Pursuant to House Rule 3, I have examined and approved the Journal of the House of Delegates for January 30th, 2023. Motions and resolutions under Rule 39 pursuant to the provisions of Rule 40 are now in order. Does the clerk have any announcements or communications?
Mr. Speaker, no announcements or communications at this time. Therefore, Speaker requests that members use the Request to Speak button for those agenda items displayed on the voting board for reference. The delegate from Henrico, Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of the body, today in the gallery we have with us administrators, students, and family members of students from Riverside School in the Richmond area. If they'll please stand up. They are here as part of Decoding Dyslexia Virginia Advocacy Day. Riverside School is an independent private day school that teaches students from kindergarten through 8th grade who have dyslexia or other language-based learning challenges. They use the Orton-Gillingham approach with small class sizes and one-on-one instruction, along with a nurturing environment and highly trained teachers. Dyslexia is the most common learning disability in the United States, and individuals from the school are here to meet with us to educate us about the fact that almost 1 in 5 Virginians are affected by dyslexia. And in the rush of today, I didn't get a chance to share with them that includes my grandfather and my uncle who struggled with dyslexia. And my grandfather worked with his hands his whole life, and he struggled to read, but he really valued his library. And some of my most prized possessions are a 3-volume Shelby Foote set of Civil War books that he methodically made his way through as an adult in retirement and passed down to me. And so I encourage you to meet, listen, learn, and witness the joy and excitement that comes from them as they share their stories. I mean, it was such a blast to visit with them this morning. And to support dyslexia-centered legislation that will have a transformational and empowering impact, not just on them, but on all of our kids. And so I'd hope the body would give them a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Fairfax County, Delegate Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to introduce Rabbi David S. Widzer to our House body today. Rabbi Widzer is a senior rabbi and spiritual leader at Temple B'nai Shalom, my family synagogue in Fairfax Station in Fairfax County. Rabbi Widzer graduated from Brown University and attended the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. He was ordained as a rabbi in 2000 and previously served as a rabbi to congregations in New Jersey, Massachusetts, and the Bahamas. Rabbi Widzer joined Temple B'nai Shalom in 2020, and he has provided great comfort and leadership to our congregation as we navigated an uncertain time, from the pandemic to a rise in anti-Semitism. Rabbi Widzer's warm, compassionate, humorous, earnest style of leadership has endeared him to our congregation. He has brought new light and joy to our synagogue, as well as creativity and renewed energy to our work on social justice, community engagement, youth activities, and Jewish learning. Under his leadership, our congregation is growing and thriving and deepening its role in our community. Rabbi Widzer also brings to the Bima his love for his own family, his wife Karen, and children Judah and Elisheva, and all things Broadway. So if you come for Shabbat services, you might hear a show tune or two in his sermon. Matt and I personally thank the rabbi for his guidance and mentorship to our son, Davin Haidang, when he was called to the Bima as a bar mitzvah last year. Please join me in giving Rabbi Widzer a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Wilt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today in the gallery, we are joined by some Blue Ridge Community College students and their president, Dr. John Downey. If they'd please rise. There they are. Mr. Speaker, they're with us today here at the Capitol to meet with legislators and advocate for support for the state's biggest bang for our buck, our community college systems. And as they working fervently to answer and help meet the needs of our workforce development concerns that we have across the state. So I'd ask that you would join me in giving them a warm house welcome.
I'm sorry I was rushing around this morning. You call me if you need me, okay? I appreciate it. The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of two introductions.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today with us, we have students from Newport News Public Schools who are participating in the Emerging Leaders Program, and I ask that they please stand. They are high school students that desire to make a positive impact in their community. They are sharp, engaged, fascinating, and caring, and it is clear, even during our first meeting, that they are leaders in their own right. I had the pleasure of hosting a workshop for them on the legislative process and how their voices are an integral part to our work. They took what they heard and crafted letters to legislators in support of bills that dealt with gun violence prevention, recycling, and addressing climate change, religious freedom, police reform, freedom to think freely as students, school safety, and more. Their lived experiences support their positions, and I'm so proud of their hard work, and I would like to thank the legislators that came by to see them today. So members, we want to thank them for their advocacy today and to thank the adults that are with them that continue to pour into their lives to help them succeed. To welcome them and acknowledge the importance of their presence here today, I hope that we would offer them a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Newport News.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We also have with us today my favorite former elected official. We have the former mayor of Newport News, Dr. McKinley Price, and his wife. If we could give them a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Chesterfield, Delegate Coyner.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
I would ask that members of Decoding Dyslexia Virginia please rise in the gallery. Mr. Speaker, Decoding Dyslexia Virginia is celebrating their 10th anniversary of advocacy in Richmond. They are a grassroots movement focused on linking families to resources, support, and educational interventions for dyslexia. They aim to raise dyslexia awareness, empower families to support their children, and inform policymakers on best practices to identify, remediate, and support students with dyslexia in Virginia. They've expanded their advocacy over the past few years to helping what's best for all students in literacy. And I'm appreciative of the Carrie Caucus across the aisle, Delegate Delaney, and her efforts in helping families with children with dyslexia as well. If the House would join me in welcoming Decoding Dyslexia Virginia to the gallery today.
The delegate from Fairfax County, Delegate Fillercorn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to welcome several guests, and if they will please rise if they are here in the gallery, representing the Virginia Autism Advocacy Alliance, including the Autism Societies of Northern Virginia, Central Virginia, Tidewater, Commonwealth Autism, Legal Reform, Intellectually and Developmentally Disabled, and the Virginia Autism Project. They are here to meet with all of us, and many of you have already been visited by them. They are here to also learn from us and watch the legislative process and talk and advocate in support of issues that are important to them, important to families, and the autism community overall in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Virginia Autism Advocacy Alliance strives to unify the voice of the autism community and integrate legislation in a coordinated manner. They will be across Capitol Square today, visiting you in your offices as well, discussing legislation, part of the DD system transformation agenda. As you may meet many advocates, as you will today, you will also see someone who's very familiar to us, my friend Connor Cummings. You may remember Connor from his advocacy for Connor's Law, which took effect in Virginia in 2015. Connor's Law ensures greater financial stability for adults with disabilities through requiring child support after a child with disability actually turns the age of 18. Connor has given countless speeches here. He's met with all of you individually. He gives speeches throughout the Commonwealth. He has also advocated and testified on Capitol Hill and continues to advocate nationally for the passage of Connor's Law in other states. He truly is a force to be reckoned with. It's an honor, Mr. Speaker, to welcome all of our self-advocates and advocacy organizations who are here today as part of the Virginia Autism Advocacy Alliance to the Capitol. I ask you all that you join me in giving them a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Bourne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, today, hopefully they're in the gallery, is a group AFOI, which stands for Assisting Families of Inmates. These folks have been serving families and children impacted by incarceration of a loved one in Virginia for 45 years. Their mission is to support the underserved families of our incarcerated Virginians by providing meaningful visitation, family assistance, and children's programs that achieve positive evidence-based outcomes. Today, the Master of Social Work students who work in their Milk and Cookies Children program are here with us today, and I'd ask that we give them a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, joining us today in the gallery are a group of nuclear engineering students. I asked them to please stand. I think they're up there. Okay. These students are joining us from Virginia Commonwealth University and Liberty University and are here as part of their annual American Nuclear Society Student Lobby Day. Each year, American Nuclear Society students visit the Capitol during session to meet with legislators and share information about the innovative and exciting research they're conducting to advance nuclear energy. These students are also here to lobby in support of legislation and budget initiatives to advance the research and development of nuclear energy industry in the Commonwealth. These students are here today with April Wade, the Executive Director of Virginia Nuclear Energy Consortium, whose stakeholders include the Commonwealth, institutions of higher earning, higher education, nuclear energy companies, suppliers, and local organizations who support the advancement of nuclear industry. We are lucky to have these students from VCU and Liberty here today and who are taking time out of their busy semester to advocate for their future industry. And Mr. Speaker, I can tell you they really are a bright bunch of kids, and we be well served with our future with these folks in charge. So please join me in giving these students a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Charlottesville, Delegate Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're joined today by students from the Peabody School in Charlottesville, and I hope they might please rise. Mr. Speaker and members, these students have been here today practicing their legislative advocacy skills. Topping their list of priorities is protecting the planet we all call home. I want to thank my House colleagues for taking time to meet with them today, and I hope you'll all join me in giving them a warm House welcome.
The delegate from Hanover, Delegate Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'd like to introduce representatives from the Virginia Childhood Cancer Network. If they are in the gallery, will they please stand? These advocates represent more than 300 children that are diagnosed with cancer every year here in Virginia, and more than 10,000 survivors. They are parents, survivors, medical community, passionate volunteers who serve our childhood cancer community every day. Today, we celebrate the inclusion of pediatric cancer in the state budget for the first time in Virginia's history. This funding will provide the vital support needed to help children return to school during and after treatment. While we celebrate their success, there is still much work to be done to fight against childhood cancer. Treatments need to be developed that are more effective and less toxic to the children. Families across the Commonwealth still lack vital services that will help these children not only survive cancer, but move forward and thrive in their lives each and every day. I would ask the members to please join me in welcoming these advocates to the House today. Thank you.
Pursuant to House Rule 30, the journal shall reflect that the following members are away on pressing personal business and are granted leave from today's session. Delegate Hayes. The clerk shall announce the next order of business.
Mr. Speaker, the second portion of the morning hour reserved for member requests to move legislation from any uncontested to a regular calendar. There are two, one in a live section of the calendar today and one not. First category, House Bills, third reading uncontested, that fairly decently sized block. On page 2, Delegate McGuire's House Bill 1436 is removed out of the block and over to a third regular. And then on page, it's not a live category today, but on page 45, House Bills first reading uncontested calendar, Delegate Batten's House Bill 2471 has been removed from the block, and on tomorrow will be on first regular.
The clerk will announce the next order of business.
Third portion of the morning hour reserved for member requests for legislation to go by for today, and any subsequent motion by the majority leader to effectuate that. Mr. Speaker, there are two. On page 19 of the printed calendar, House Bills third reading, Delegate Rome's House Bill 2021, she requests that go by for the day. And the next category, House Bill second reading regular. Second reading regular, page 25, Delegate Davis's House Bill 1810. That has been requested to go by for the day.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, I move the legislation as announced by the clerk go by for the day.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore, moves that the legislation as announced by the clerk go by for the day. As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The clerk shall announce the next order of business.
Mr. Speaker, the fourth and final portion of the morning hour is reserved for member requests for points of personal privilege.
The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Return to the first hour. I'd like to have an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we are joined by seniors at Code RVA today, a regional high school in Richmond. I'd ask them to stand, please. Code RVA was established as a pilot program in 2017 with the mission to expand access to computer science training and curriculum to students of all backgrounds. Through this mission, they ensure students of all economic backgrounds, races, and genders are represented in the computer science field. They are unlike any other regional high schools in that they are intentionally not restrictive in their intake. They strive to fulfill their mission with as many students as possible and have been eager to expand. They have grown to accept students from 15 different localities with 345 students in grades 9 through 12 and 66 in their graduating class. Students obtain a computer science heavy curriculum, and in addition to an advanced diploma, they have the opportunity to receive an associate's degree in computer science. We all know how important the field of computer science is, and Code RVA is a true trailblazer in making sure the next generation of Virginians are well equipped to get involved. I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to join me in giving the students of Code RVA a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Loudoun, Delegate Subramanian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just yesterday, we came to find that the Republican administration made what they call a human error. Now, errors happen all the time, but this human error is a pretty big one by the administration, one that's going to take away $200 million from our schools. This is a major cut to education funding by the administration, 2/3 into the school year. Mr. Speaker, the administration dropped the ball, and it could not have come at a worse time. Our schools are crumbling. We have staffing shortages across the Commonwealth, and we still haven't fully funded the standards of quality. And the administration knew about this mistake for a month. Yet we didn't hear about it until yesterday. And there is no plan that we know of to fix it. Why is there no plan? Because they have been more focused on turning our classrooms into battlegrounds for culture wars than ensuring our students have the resources that they need to succeed. Banning books, attacking kids for who they love, pitting parents against teachers, and voucher programs that undermine our public schools. And our kids are suffering because of it, and our schools are going to have cuts because of it. We're going to lose $10.4 million in my locality, Loudoun County, the central target of the MAGA culture wars. $18 million in Fairfax County, $18 million, 10.8 in Chesterfield County. I could keep going. Richmond, Henrico. When you mess with people's school divisions, you're messing with their major economic decisions. And when our constituents send their kids to school, they assume that the schools won't run out of money, certainly not because of a human error. These are real cuts with real impacts on our students. And House Democrats are prepared to find solutions for our students, just like we've been doing all session long. We hope our Republican colleagues will join us in doing so. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I was first elected to the House of Delegates, Speaker Bill Howell appointed me to the Board of Veteran Services. It made sense to me. I had grown up a military brat. I had worked for Congressman Charlie Wilson handling defense appropriations and foreign affairs. So when I joined the board, I was ready to go to work on behalf of our veterans. The first question I ask is, what are we doing for women veterans? How many women veterans did we have living here in Virginia? And who handled their issues at the Department of Veteran Affairs? What were we doing for them across the Commonwealth? I was surprised to learn that the answer every time was not much. I asked Annie Walker from the Department of Veteran Affairs, who could not be a finer person, to stop by my office, where I asked her if there was one thing that we could do for our women veterans, what would it be? She told me that Virginia needed a women veterans coordinator, a woman in the Department of Veteran Affairs to handle veteran issues. there was not one person designated as the Woman Veteran Coordinator. Not one. And there were 103,000 women veterans at that time in Virginia. So I asked for an appropriation to fund this position and was shocked that it took so long, almost 3 years, to get that done. Today, there are over 106,000 women veterans here in Virginia, and that number is growing. Today, we have 3 women who are designated to handle their issues, and I'm very proud of helping make that happen. They have jobs, healthcare, education, homelessness, education, counseling. All of these things are their issues that need to be addressed. I began to hold women veteran roundtables. I'm not a veteran. I don't pretend that I know what they need. So I wanted to hear from our women veteran community about what they needed and what they wanted us to do to help them. So I initiated these women veteran roundtables, and we have had 14 across the Commonwealth as of today. Some of them big, and some of them pretty small. But the purpose is for us to allow these women veterans to talk and for us to listen and for us to act. We will hold our next Women Veterans Roundtable here in Richmond at the War Memorial on February 23rd. I'm looking forward to once again hearing from our women veterans, to listen to what they need, to the challenges that they face, and to see how we can translate that into action for them. I'm especially grateful, and I want to thank the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Crenshaw, for reaching out to me and for his commitment to help turn these conversations into actions to support our women veterans in a positive and productive way. Women all here, women delegates, are welcome to join us. None of you dudes. And we will be there to listen and not to make speeches. And I want to thank our woman veteran here, Jackie Glass, for joining with me in this effort. She has been a big help, and I'm very grateful. And thanks to all of you for your support for the whole veteran community across Virginia.
I will advise the body that we are waiting to do a center aisle presentation, which means we're waiting on the other body which shall not be named. So the House will be at ease, and I would ask the members not to stray too far. The House will be at ease. The House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, permission to take the center aisle for HJR 546.
We're going to return to the first portion of the morning hour, and the delegate may take the center aisle. The clerk will report a resolution.
House Joint Resolution number 546, commending Colonel Anthony Steve Pike. The resolution was agreed to by the House on Wednesday, January 18th, subsequently agreed to by the Senate on Thursday, January 26th.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Joint Resolution 546 commends Colonel Pike. Colonel Anthony Stephen Pike has dedicated his life to public servant, first in the United States Army, then serving 22 years with the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, and on December 25th, 2010 by joining the Capitol Police as Assistant Chief. He was appointed Chief of Police by the Legislative Support Commission on October 11, 2011. His time as Chief capped a 34-year career of public safety service. Colonel Pike graduated from the FBI National Academy and served in various capacities with the Virginia chapter of the FBI National Academy Associates. He also graduated from the 64th session of the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Seminar, the Northwestern University Center for Public Safety Executive Management Program, the NCSL Legislative Staff Management Institution, and the Commonwealth Management Institute. Colonel Pike worked with the National Conference of State Legislature, enabled Pike to modernize the Capitol Square security to its current enhanced posture. He has held various leadership positions within the National Conference of State Legislature. Under Pike's leadership, the Division of Capitol Police earned 3 consecutive reaccreditations from the Virginia Law Enforcement Professional Standards Commission, and he's been a great servant for our Commonwealth. Colonel Pike, we wish you a well-deserved and happy retirement with your wife, Jennifer. They're now, Mr. Speaker, my constituents in beautiful Scott County, and we present you with this resolution as a token of our gratitude for your outstanding service and leadership to the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Colonel Pike, thank you for your service. I hope the members, both past and present, appreciate all the literal sleepless nights you spent worrying about keeping them safe. And I hope you deserve some well-earned rest. And I see you got a retirement beard already. So we thank you so much. I wish you and Jennifer all the best, and God bless you. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you. The delegate from Hampton, Delegate Cordoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Motion to move back to the first morning hour for purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize Antonio Repass. If you please stand, and his company. Antonio Repass is a pillar of the community of Norfolk and owner of Government Law Enforcement and Military Services, also known as GLEAMS. He is a graduate of Hampton University, where he played football and earned degrees in aviation and business. Antonio has a wife and children in Norfolk Public Schools, and Antonio has served over a decade in federal law enforcement and is now a defense contractor and a business owner actively involved in the community in Norfolk. I would ask that the House give him a warm welcome.
The delegate from James City County, Delegate Batten.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to request that we move back to the first morning hour for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Joining us in the gallery today are a group of students from William & Mary, and I ask that they please rise. They're here with us today for their annual Road to Richmond event. Taking place each year since 1996, students come from Williamsburg and spend the day meeting with legislators, cabinet officials, lobbyists, and others to gain a more robust understanding of the inner working of state government. I ask that my colleagues please join me in giving them a warm House welcome.
The clerk will call the calendar.
Calendar for today, Tuesday, January 31st, last day of January. First category, House bills on third reading, uncontested calendar, approximately 30 bills-ish in this category, beginning on page 1. House bills 2201, turning to page 2, House Bill 1419, House Bill 1421. House Bill 1436 has been removed from the block and over to the regular calendar. Therefore, continuing with the block, House Bills 1470, 1486, 1496, 1555, 1576, 1577, 1623, page 6 of the printed calendar. Continuing with the block, House Bill 1685, 1704, 1781, 1822, 1828, 1839. Turning to page 8, House Bills 1841, 1843, 1887, 1929, 1941, 1982. And turning over to page 10, House Bills 2096, 2181, 2225, 2244, 2285, 2375. And Mr. Speaker, rounding out the block of House bills on third reading, uncontested calendar, top of page 12, is House Bill 2393. That is the block before the body.
Shall the bills pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 99, no 0.
Ayes 99, no 0. The bills pass.
Continuing with today's calendar, next category, House bills on third reading regular calendar. House bills third reading regular, approximately 2 dozen bills in this category. Middle of page 12 of the printed calendar. First up is House Bill 1910 relating to absentee voting, unsolicited absentee ballot applications, required information, penalty.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 88, noes 11.
Ayes 88, noes 11. The bill passes.
House Bill 1511 relates to midwifery, administration of medication.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, no 0.
Ayes 98, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1934 relating to Administrative Process Act, certain regulations to require legislative approval.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 53, noes 46.
Ayes 53, noes 46. The bill passes.
House Bill 2274 relating to pharmacist scope of practice, initiation of treatment for certain diseases and conditions.
The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
Yesterday, I went home and I turned on the news, and CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart pharmacies will be reducing hours. These are the same companies that have looked to put the elements of this bill in place. They're reducing hours and they're cutting stores. And so I thought to myself, well, why are they doing this? So I looked it up. In January of last year, the American Association of Pharmacists, they actually put out a press release that talked about what's going on in the pharmacy world. And prior to the pandemic, 1/4 of pharmacists basically felt overworked and exhausted. But since that time, 78% of pharmacists express that they feel like they don't have sufficient time to safely care for patients and to perform clinical services that come into the pharmacy, and therefore they are leaving and retiring rather than work in these dangerous conditions. And I bring this up because we are adding some really important and significant responsibilities to pharmacists, one of which 3 clinicians spoke about in HWI, and yet it didn't seem to have much of an impact. So I did want to share that UTIs in particular are not benign, and correctly diagnosing them or incorrectly diagnosing them can lead to complications and mask underlying disorders and delay care. A dipstick urine, which is what this talks about, the CLIA wave test, is not sufficient to diagnose every UTI. The gold standard is a urine culture, and every patient deserves gold standard care if it's available, and it is. Specifically, things that can go wrong have to do with prescribing the wrong antibiotic. The wrong antibiotic can delay care. Delay care in the elderly people, for example, means mental status changes. Mental status changes can lead to fall and other complications. But the other subpopulation affected by this are people who are underserved, whether that's in rural areas or cities where there isn't a whole bunch of primary care providers. And the problem with just rotely prescribing, because you think there might be a UTI, and on a UA, you can have high protein because you're diabetic. You can have white blood cells because something else is going on. That is why a culture is so significant, because it will actually help us understand what drug to pair with the particular bacteria. And that's how you don't delay care. So the issue is true that we need more access to care in underserved communities. But it is not true that adding more and different responsibilities to a pharmacist, where that's not actually what they were trained to do to begin with, will really add to solving this problem. And so this isn't about whether pharmacists are good at their job or not. They're excellent. Pharmacists are well-trained, smart individuals. The problem with this bill is it adds another layer of work in which they are not necessarily associated with normally, and then it potentially causes problems down the road. People who don't get primary care regularly have a whole host of underlying conditions. It's important that we don't mask them. And with that, I would ask that you do not support the bill before you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Middlesex, Delegate Hodges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the delegate's comments. But when you start to look at healthcare, we are in a healthcare workforce crisis across the board. And it's not only pharmacy, it's in family practice, it's in emergency rooms, it's in hospitals, it is everywhere where we have a healthcare workforce crisis. And when we talk about the pharmacies that are backlogged, it's not every pharmacy. Certain pharmacies are backlogged, and yes, they're overworked. But this is about access for the patient. And it's optional for the pharmacist at that point to interact with that patient, determine whether the patient needs that test. And personally, I've seen it numerous times. My grandmother, for instance, twice this has happened. Cognitive issues, displayed the symptoms of a UTI, ended up at the ER. And just 2 weeks ago, a very good friend had to drive down from Northern Virginia and called me on the phone, and his mother was experiencing symptoms. And the first thing I said after talking with him, has she been checked for a UTI? Spent the entire day in the emergency room. Entire day, drove her to Richmond. So a simple test can actually help a number of folks prevent a number of problems, prevent ER visits, and also refer to the physician with follow-up care. So, Mr. Speaker, I would ask that everyone vote yes for the bill.
The delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Converse Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to get it real personal. Because last year, I was very ill for about 6 months, starting in January before I came here, all the way through session, and all the way up until July when I was about in sepsis and my mom had to drag me to the hospital because of a misdiagnosed UTI. Misdiagnosed UTI over and over and over. I could bring the paperwork every single time. I couldn't get to my regular physician because I was here, so I had to go to the, patient first, just whoever would take me. Whoever I could get in with on that Friday afternoon when I was rushing home to, just get home and get to there before I had to pick up my kids. I had so I can tell you right now that it's not one test. It's not two tests. Someone has to look at you holistically when you have symptoms of a UTI. And I know the men might not understand this because they don't get them as often. So I am really tired again of men speaking about women and our bodies and how they function. Because I've lived it. I'm giving you testimony. And if you're not listening, I almost died. My mom shouldn't be dragging anybody. I should be pushing her around. But she's dragging me to the ER. And the test that actually proved it, after they did the ultrasounds and the MRIs, the ultrasound showed my kidneys were huge and there was an infection in the middle of my kidneys. And that wasn't going away. And I had to pay out of pocket to get the test that actually diagnosed the microbial that was in my kidneys. I paid out of pocket for that, a couple $100. But yes, it was exactly what we thought, and it was just all I needed was penicillin. But every other time they tried a different medication on me because they just thought, well, she has a UTI, let's try this one. Let's try this one. So holistic care is very important when it comes to women's health, and a UTI is more often women's health than anyone else. So please vote no to this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 57, noes 42.
Ayes 57, noes 42. The bill passes.
Continuing House Bills third reading regular calendar, top of page 14. House Bill 2284 relating to Board for Waterworks and Wastewater Works operators as well as on-site sewage system professionals membership.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 75, noes 24.
Ayes 75, noes 24. The bill passes.
House Bill 1573, directing the health regulatory boards within the Department of Health Professions to amend language related to mental health conditions and impairment in licensure, certification, and registration applications. The bill has an emergency clause.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, no 0.
Ayes 98, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 2354 relating to healthcare provider panels, continuity of care.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, no 0.
Ayes 98, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1446 relating to minimum staffing standards for certified nursing facilities, administrative sanctions.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 95, noes 2.
Ayes 95, noes 2. The bill passes.
Continuing on page 16 of the printed calendar, House Bill's third reading regular. Next up, House Bill 1456 relating to income tax pass-through entities.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, no 0.
Ayes 98, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1461 relating to the Department of Education Uniform System of Discipline for Disruptive Student Behavior report.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 52, noes 46.
Ayes 52, noes 46. The bill passes.
House Bill 1507 relating to public elementary and secondary schools fundamental right parents.
Shall the bill pass?
No.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 53, noes 46.
Ayes 53, noes 46. The bill passes.
House Bill 1510 relating to local incentives for urban green space.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 72, noes 27.
Ayes 72, noes 27. The bill passes.
Next up, House Bill 1574 relating to school board selection, referendum on direct election of school board members by voters, authorization by local governing body.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 88, noes 11.
Ayes 88, noes 11. The bill passes.
House Bill 1645 relating to litter tax, penalty for failure to pay in a timely manner.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 71, noes 26.
Ayes 70.
I apologize, Mr. Speaker. Ayes 72, noes 26.
Ayes 72, noes 26. The bill passes.
Turning to page 18. Next up, House Bill 1677 relating to retail sales and use tax service exemptions.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 99, no 0.
Ayes 99, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1691 relating to School Resource Officer Grants Program and Fund.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 53, noes 46.
Ayes 53, noes 46. The bill passes.
House Bill 1848 relating to stormwater management streamlining federal conformity.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 53, noes 46.
Ayes 53, noes 46. The bill passes.
House Bill 1928 relating to school bus operators, training, remote online, and Spanish language options.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 97, noes 2.
Ayes 97, noes 2. The bill passes.
House Bill 1942 relating to real property tax, notice of rate and assessment changes.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 56, noes 43.
Ayes 56, noes 43. The bill passes.
House Bill 2021 has been taken by for the day. Therefore, continuing House Bill's third reading regular calendar, top of page 20 of the printed calendar. Next up is House Bill 2110 relating to delinquent tax lands.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 64, noes 35.
Ayes 64, noes 35. The bill passes.
House Bill 2151 relating to state parks, master planning requirements.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 91, noes 8.
Ayes 91, noes 8. The bill passes.
House Bill 2334 relating to sales and use tax, exemption for oil and gas drilling equipment.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 73, noes 26.
Ayes 73, noes 26. The bill passes.
House Bill 2405 relating to high school graduation requirements, passing score on select questions from the U.S. naturalization test.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 54, noes 44.
Ayes 54, noes 44. The bill passes.
House Bill 2362 relating to burial fees for military spouses.
Delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Converse Fowler.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a great bill. I really wanted to express that. I actually drafted it, HB 1565, and dropped it on 1/6/2023. Then it went to appropriations on 1/6/2023. The third thing that happened was it was then, after pre-filing, redrafted, but not exactly like mine. Then it went to committee, and the new draft was identical to mine, and it passed. Mine was finally docketed after that, for yesterday. And the other one passed committee. There it is. I want you to vote for it. But it's time to pull the veil back here. The politics that are played, for what reason? I already had the bill drafted. It didn't need to be put in again after filing, and I don't blame the patron. The patron has made me a co-chief patron. Thank you. But honestly, been working on this for months, working on this bill. So just saying, the language was absolutely correct in HB 1565, and the substitute had to be done just to make this one correct. But it is correct now, and I do want to say I support this bill. So please vote for this bill. Thank you.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, noes 1.
Ayes 98, noes 1. The bill passes.
And Mr. Speaker, returning to page 2 of the printed calendar, last bill in the House Bill's third reading regular category, House Bill 1436, relating to income tax subtraction, military benefits, age restriction.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, no 0, abstentions 1.
Ayes 98, no 0, abstentions 1. The bill passes.
Continuing with today's calendar, page 21 of the printed version. Next category is House bills on second reading uncontested calendar, less than a dozen bills in the uncontested second reading block, beginning with House Bill 1519, which seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to common interest communities, professionally managed associations. The bill was reported to the Committee on General Laws with amendment in the nature of a substitute.
The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. The delegate from Richmond City.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HB 1519 adds a section of the code to both the Property Owners Association Act and the Virginia Condominium Act to provide that a common interest community or homeowners association may cancel a contract with an auto renewal clause at any time and without cause. Granted, at least 60 days notice is provided. I hope it will be the will of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Continuing with the block, top of page 22, House Bill 1661, which seeks to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to vehicle documentation, licensed auto recyclers. The bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation with amendment nature as substitute.
Delegate from Winchester, Delegate Wiley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. The delegate from Winchester.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1661 authorizes licensed auto recyclers to demolish a motor vehicle without obtaining a certificate of title, salvage certificate, or non-repairable certificate if such motor vehicle was purchased from an insurance company and such insurance company made a total loss payment on the motor vehicle. Current law authorizes such demolition of the subject motor vehicle as a model year that is at least 10 years older than the current model year. Hope it is will of the body to engross this bill and pass it to its third reading.
House Bill 1712 seeks to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to damaging or removing temporary work signs. Penalty of the bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation.
The delegate from Sussex, Delegate Waxman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. House Bill 1712 is a bill that was brought to me by the logging industry. They have very expensive signs that are regulated by the state that must be on location and can be fined heavily if they're missing. This bill brings those signs into compliance with how we regulate state signs as far as penalties to help reduce their thefts. Mr. Speaker, I would hope that it's a pleasure of the House to engross the bill and send it to its third and final reading.
Continuing with the block, House Bill 1979 seeks to amend and reenact 3 sections of the Code of Virginia relating to alcoholic beverage control, display of wine and beer. The bill is reported to the Committee on General Laws. Mr. Speaker, with amendments.
The delegate from Chesapeake, Delegate Leftwich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee amendments.
Shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to. The delegate from Chesapeake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body, This bill simply provides that alcoholic beverages be clearly and discernibly displayed in areas for alcoholic beverages only, and that appropriate signage is also posted. I ask that the bill be engrossed and passed its third reading.
Continuing with the block, next up is House Bill 2006, which seeks to amend and reenact a section of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Public Records Charges, Electronic Payment Method. The bill is before the Committee on General Laws.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee amendments.
I don't think that's no committee amendment. Should there be one?
That's the next one. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So HB 2000, HB 2000, are you sure that there's no committee amendments for 2006?
I don't see one for this or the next bill.
Okay. Can I take this bill by temporarily, and we'll go to the end of the calendar with that?
By temporarily.
Okay, thank you.
2006 by temporarily, therefore continuing on page 23. Next up is House Bill 2007, also by Delegate Rome. It's a bill to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, posting of fee policy. The bill is reported from Committee on General Laws.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, HB 2007 requires a public body to make available upon request and post on its website or otherwise publish a written policy explaining how the public body assesses charges for accessing or searching for requested records and noting the current fee charged, if any, by the public body for accessing and searching for the requested records. This is a recommendation from the FOIA Advisory Council, and I hope it's the will of the body to engross the bill and move it on to its third reading.
Continuing with the second reading uncontested block. Next up, House Bill 2161, which seeks to amend and reenact a wide variety of sections of the Code of Virginia, all relating to local government. Standardization of public notice requirements for certain intended actions and hearings report. The bill is reported to the Committee on General Laws.
The delegate from Patrick, Delegate Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this bill came from a work group study that we did last year with the Code Commission. The goal of it was to standardize public notice requirements and try to line dates up for newspapers and also legal notices, etc. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to the third reading.
Continuing with the block, turning to page 24, House Bill 2340 seeks to amend and reenact two sections of the Code of Virginia relating to motor vehicles, license plates, and registration, taxes and penalties. The bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Bulova.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
Of course, the delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this section of the code deals with the problem of out-of-state vehicles that are garaged in Virginia, but where the owner fails to properly license and register the vehicle. This is usually done to avoid taxes, which means that the rest of us end up picking up the slack. The penalty for failure to register a vehicle has not been adjusted since 2013, so House Bill 2340 simply increases that penalty to keep up with inflation so that it remains an effective deterrent. Mr. Speaker, I'd move we engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Continuing with the second reading on contested calendar block. Next up, Delegate Austin's House Bill 2381, which seeks to amend and reenact section of the Code of Virginia relating to toll operators, Department of Motor Vehicle Records. The bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation.
Delegate from Botetourt, Delegate Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, House Bill 2381 allows the toll operator to notify a user through email. I'd ask that the bill be engrossed and passed to the third reading.
House will be at ease.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can we move this bill to the regular calendar and at the end of the regular calendar, please?
House Bill 2006 to the regular calendar.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
I'm sorry. I got thrown off with that last one. Shall the bills be engrossed and passed to their third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The bills are engrossed and passed to their third reading.
Mr. Speaker, continuing with today's calendar, bottom on page 24, the printed version. The next category, House bills on second reading, regular calendar, approximately a dozen bills in this category. First up is Delegate Brewer's House Bill 2385, which seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to administration of state government, prohibitive actions, civil penalty. The bill was reported to the Committee on Communications Technology and Innovation with an amendment in the nature of a substitute. And, Mr. Speaker, there are floor amendments by Delegate Helmer, which are drawn to that floor substitute, but they have not been distributed yet. We're processing them.
Delegate from Isle of Wight, Delegate Brewer.
Mr. Speaker, I'm waiting for some additional floor amendments, so could I ask that bill go by for the day?
Delegate Brewer moves that House Bill 2385 go by for the day. As many as favor that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. By for the day.
Speaker, continuing with House bills on second reading, regular, top of page 25. That bill, House Bill 1810, also has been taken by for the day. Accordingly, the bill before the body now is House Bill 2264. It seeks to amend the Code of Virginia relating to the Department of Education written guidance for comprehensive school counseling program. The bill is reported to the Committee on Education with amendments, and the bill's patron, Delegate Ransom, also has floor amendments which have been distributed and are available on IHOD and to the public as well.
The delegate from Westmoreland, Delegate Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee amendments.
Shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to. The delegate from Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a floor amendment.
I think it's been distributed. You want to describe what your bill does and then what the floor amendments do?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2246 directs the Department of Education to develop guidelines for Virginia school boards to adopt regarding policy for school counselors. Currently, there's no consistent set of regulations for school counselors. They are created at the local school board level, and it's basically a patchwork of different approaches and outcomes across the state. This bill specifically outlines how the Department of Education should write the criteria along with a timeline to complete the work. And my floor amendment is on line 18, and it would be Roman numeral 2, or excuse me, number 2, and it would now say that the guidance would be based on recognized counselor frameworks and align with standards of learning and standards of accreditation. Mr. Speaker, I put this floor amendment in because there were concerns with some of the counselors and other groups that we had language in the bill related to national organizations. And some of the counselors and superintendents associations, along with parent groups, felt like we were best coming up with the guidelines here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I would ask that we engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
The delegate from no? Okay. The question is on adoption of the floor amendments. As many as favor the adoption will say aye. Those opposed, no. The floor amendments are agreed to. Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Turning to page 26, continuing House Bill second reading regular calendar, House Bill 1723 is now before the body. It seeks to amend and reenact 2 sections of the Code of Virginia relating to passing stop school buses, purpose of stop, prima facie evidence. The bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation.
The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
Numerous school districts around the state have invested in school bus camera technology to record dangerous driving around school buses. HB 1723 clarifies that a bus stopped with at least one warning light device activated is prima facie evidence that the bus was stopped for the purpose of letting children on or off the bus. I hope it will be the will of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Next up is House Bill 1753. It seeks to amend and reenact section of the Code of Virginia relating to alcoholic beverage control, mixed beverage carrier license, airport passenger lounge. The bill has an emergency clause on it. And, Mr. Speaker, the bill was reported to the Committee on General Laws with amendment nature as substitute.
The delegate from Chesterfield, Delegate Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. The delegate from Chesterfield.
House Bill 1753 adds a definition of airport passenger lounge and narrowly expands the eligible institutions for a mixed beverage carrier license at these lounges. The license is currently available to airlines. This bill expands eligibility to financial institutions, subsidiaries, and their contracted lounge operator partners approved by the Airport Authority. The bill has an emergency clause because there are lounges scheduled to open at Dulles and Reagan airports later this year. I move the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
House Bill 1844 seeks to amend and reenact section of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Public Records Act, confidentiality of certain archive records. The bill is before the Committee on General Laws.
The delegate from Dinwiddie, Delegate Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HB 1844 allows privacy for health, educational, and similarly legal protected information to be retained and conveyed when records containing this information are transferred to state archives. This bill simply keeps legally protected information that is transferred to archives HIPAA and FERPA compliant. I hope it is the will of this body to engross it and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Top of page 27. Next up is House Bill 1866. House Bill 1866 seeks to amend the Code of Virginia relating to alcoholic beverage control, suspension or revocation of certain retail licenses, reinstatement. Bill is before the Committee on General Laws. Mr. Speaker, with an amendment.
The delegate from Spotsylvania, Delegate Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee amendments.
Shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to. The delegate from Spotsylvania, Delegate Scott.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1866 does not change the licensure requirements for having an ABC license. All it does is simply if a establishment has their health department license suspended or revoked solely due to an issue related to their health department license, which would trigger their ABC license to be suspended or revoked. Once that health department issue is corrected and that license is reinstated, then this would automatically reinstate that ABC license, and I hope it would be the will of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Next up is House Bill 1995, which seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to passing stop school buses, rebuttable presumption. The bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wait a minute. The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Krizik.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill gives law enforcement, et cetera, more time to issue the tickets to people who are passing school buses and putting our kids at risk. It moves it from 10 to 30 days. I hope it's the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Also by Delegate Krizik, House Bill 1997, which seeks to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to Virginia Racing Commission, powers and duties, ratio of live racing days, number of historical horse racing terminals. Bills report to the Committee on General Laws with amendment nature substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Krizik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The substitute's agreed to. The delegate from Fairfax.
Mr. Speaker, members of the body, this House Bill 1997 will require any operator of historical horse racing machines capable of hosting a live thoroughbred racing day to annually hold one racing day with no less than 8 races a day for every 100 HHR machines that they operate. The substitute includes a delay the enactment to July 1, 2024. gives them a little bit more time to make this happen, and it requires one of the annual race days to be held on a weekend, and gives the Virginia Racing Commission the discretion to alter the number of live racing days in the event of force majeure or any event outside of their commission's control. As you all know, current law already requires 2,000 of Colonial Downs' 5,000 HHR machines to follow the 1 day of racing to 100 machines ratio, but this will extend this to all the rest of the machines. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope it's the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall that bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. That's pretty funny, honestly. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Continuing on page 28, House Bills on second reading regular calendar. Next up, House Bill 2336. It seeks to amend and reenact two sections of the Code of Virginia relating to alcoholic beverage control, marketplace license fees. Bill Support Committee on General Laws.
The delegate from Washington, Delegate Wampler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill, House Bill 2336 lowers the marketplace license fee from $1,000 for a state license to $500, and for a local license from $200 to $100 for any license that is used half of the year, under 6 months. I hope it be the will of the body to engross this bill and move it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Next up, House Bill 2394, which seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, exclusions, proprietary records, and trade secrets, Fort Monroe Authority. The bill is Support Committee on General Laws with an amendment.
The delegate from Hampton, Delegate Cordoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move the committee amendments.
Shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to. The delegate from Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, House Bill 2394 simply gives a FOIA exemption for the Fort Monroe Authority for matters that have to do with residential real estate information. I ask that this bill be engrossed and passed on to its third and final reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Continuing with today's calendar, House Bill 2395 seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to speed determination devices, calibration, or testing. The bill is reported to the Committee on Transportation.
The delegate from Rockbridge, Delegate Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, House Bill 2395 is simply a cost savings and efficiency bill for local law enforcement localities. It simply changes the code so that they would, for their radar detection devices, that they would be tested every 12 months instead of every 6 months. It should also be noted that they are calibrated at the beginning of each shift by the deputy or the law enforcement officer on duty. I hope that it will be the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Top of page 29, bill before the body is House Bill 2419, which seeks to amend and reenact two sections of the Code of Virginia relating to charitable gaming. Definition of the word organization. Bill is Support Committee on General Laws. Mr. Speaker, with an amendment.
The delegate from Washington, Delegate Wampler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd move the committee amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. I'm going to say it's agreed to. The amendment is agreed to. The delegate from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill, this provides an exemption for an organization in Southwest Virginia to the charitable gaming law we passed last year. This organization has a raffle that is a major part of the holding of the Bristol Rhythm and Roots Reunion and Music Festival in Southwest, which you all should absolutely come to. I hope it be the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Mr. Speaker, returning to page 23, was taken by temporary, then went over to the regular calendar. Delegate Rome's House Bill 2006. It is a bill to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to Virginia Freedom of Information Act, public records charges, electronic payment method. The bill is reported to the Committee on General Laws, and the bill's patron has a floor amendment. Speaker, a floor amendment that is straightforward but has not been put online yet. So
The clerk will report a floor amendment.
floor amendment by Delegate Rome to the introduced version on line 78 of the introduced. After pursuant to this section, strike the word shall and insert the word may.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the floor amendment mirrors exactly what we did in committee. The problem is that was never transmitted to the House floor, and so this puts us in the exact same posture of where we were. So now the bill, what it does is it says any public body that charges for the production of records pursuant to this section may provide an electronic method of payment through which all payments for the productions of such records are necessary, and that includes phone payments as well, by the way. So you can do it over the phone as well as what they currently do, which is in person. It's the bill of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
I want to thank you for that. Would have been an easy place to pull a fast one. I appreciate you adhering to the will
I'll
of
be
the
eating my
committee.
feelings later about that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? As many as favor that motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Mr. Speaker, that completes today's calendar.
Per House Rule 51, the House has returned to the morning hour. Does the clerk have any additional announcements or communications?
Simple announcement. I've talked to the two caucus chairs, but tomorrow at 11:59 your statements of economic interest are due. So just don't forget that deadline. I've sent emails, and the caucus chairs have spoken with you, so good luck. The meeting schedule for this afternoon is as follows. The Committee on Commerce and Energy is going to meet a half hour after adjournment in the House Committee room, and then they're going to stack up after that several subcommittees. So full committee, Commerce and Labor, half hour adjournment down in the House Committee room, Pocahontas on the ground floor. Once they're finished, subcommittee number 2 of Commerce and Energy will meet, and then following after that will be subcommittee number 4. So full committee, sub 2, sub 4 of Commerce and Energy, House Committee room. Conversely, the Committee on General Laws will have the subcommittees meet and then the full committee. General Laws Subcommittee number 3, they'll be meeting a half hour after adjournment of the House in House Room 3 in the extension. So that's approximately 2 o'clock-ish. General Laws Subcommittee 3, once they're finished, then Subcommittee number 4 of General Laws will meet immediately upon adjournment of the prior one. Then Subcommittee number 5 will meet again, House Room 3. This is different times, changes, and additional meeting for Sub 3. And once the 3 subcommittees have worked through their dockets, the full Committee on General Laws will meet half hour after adjournment of Subcommittee number 5 in House Room 3, or might be right after, how long they get the room turned around. Looking ahead to this afternoon, the rest of the day, Virginia Latino Caucus is meeting at 2:30 in Subcommittee Room 200A over on the second floor of Pocahontas Building. At 3:30 today, Appropriations, Health and Human Resources Committee will be meeting in the shared committee room. Probes HHR at 3:30. 4 o'clock, Transportation Subcommittee number 2, dealing with transportation infrastructure and funding. They'll be meeting at 4 o'clock in House Room 2 here in the Capitol on the first floor. Also at 4, the Finance Subcommittee number 2. They'll be meeting in House Room 1 downstairs here in the Capitol, Finance Sub 2 at 4 o'clock. The Rules Study Subcommittee will meet briefly in House Room 1 at 5 o'clock. Several, I think 3 bills on their docket. And then once the subcommittee's finished, the full Committee on Rules will be meeting at 5:15 this afternoon in House Room 1 here in the Capitol. That is the last meeting that I'm aware of for today's schedule. Looking ahead to tomorrow, February 1st, Wednesday, Speaker's Bible Study, bright and early at 7 a.m. in the 6th floor Speaker's Conference Room. Also at 7 o'clock, Privileges and Elections Subcommittee number 2. They'll be meeting in House Room 1 here in the Capitol, P&E Sub 2 at 7 a.m., House Room 1. ACNR's Natural Resources meeting has been canceled for tomorrow. So Committee on Education will be meeting at 8 o'clock. That'll be in the House Committee room on the ground floor. Once the full committee's finished, in the same room on the House Committee room, Education Child Innovation Subcommittee will be meeting. So Education and then one of their subcommittees starting at 8 tomorrow and subsequently. ACNR, the full committee on agriculture, Chesapeake Natural Resources, will meet at 8:30 at House Room 3 in the extension tomorrow. Sorry about going back in time, but at 8 a.m., the Military and Veterans Caucus will meet in Senate Subcommittee Room 2 on the 5th floor. Military and Veterans Caucus at 8 o'clock. And then finally, the caucuses will meet prior to going into session. Democratic caucus at 11 a.m. and the Republican caucus at 11:15. 11:30, 11 o'clock. Both caucuses will meet at 11 o'clock. Democrats in House Room 2, Republicans in House Room 1. Speaker, that completes the announcements I have at this time.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, I move that when the House adjourn today, it adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore, moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon. As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House do now adjourn.
The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore, moves that the House do now adjourn. As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 12 noon.